So I turned 30 years old in 2023, and actually 5 years ago, when I was 25, I came with the idea to do a video every 5 years, sharing the biggest lessons and trends and insights that really stuck with me. So if you want to watch the first one, when I was 25, I will link that video in the description. I still stand by pretty much everything that I shared there. I think reflecting, because this is why I wanted to do these kind of videos. It gives me a time or an opportunity in a way to truly take time to stand still and reflect back about the last few years. I do this every year. I do a year review every year, and I have a video on my YouTube channel where I share the questions that I ask myself every year, which I will also link in the description. So I can recommend doing a year review to almost everyone. Like, it's so insightful to just reflect back about the things that you went through, the lessons that you learned, the hardships that you might have gone through, the amazing and awesome things that you have done that year, and the accomplishments. And I think the same with doing this every 5 years, because that's a much more major things have happened in 5 years. Now, I will say one thing before I will dig into the lessons that I learned and the insights, that these are not meant as absolute truths, right? They are just my lessons and insights that I learned in my life in the last 5 years. I'm not sharing them and meaning that they are absolute truths for everyone. There might be a few that you will not agree with, but that's okay, right? Maybe by sharing them and hearing about mine, you can potentially come up with yours as well. Okay, number one is that the one certainty in life is that life is uncertain. My cardiac arrest, which is the big thing that I had in these last 5 years. I had my cardiac arrest when I was 28. If you don't know what a cardiac arrest is, it's a sudden death. So you're dead. My heart stopped when I was asleep. I did make also a couple of videos here on my YouTube channel, more talking about that event. Had a huge impact on my life, still has a huge impact on my life. Changed many things, like living with an ICD, taking chronic medication and the side effects of that, hospital visits, surgeries, a lot of things. Did not see that coming. There's other things, right, in these last 5 years, besides my cardiac arrest, like COVID-19. That also is something no one saw coming. And in combination also to the cardiac arrest, actually, that was also a major event in my life, that I started feeling dizzy and experiencing nausea for straight 2 years. 2 years I have experienced constant dizziness and nausea. We know now more clearly why that happened, because there was actually something really wrong in my stomach inflammation, stomach ulcer, stomach bleeding, and I was walking around with that for 2 years. Alright, I'm not gonna dig into the whole story of that. Dealing with uncertainty can be a huge stress source for people, that you don't have actually such a grip on life as you think you might have. Because things can just instantly change. In 1 year, your whole life can completely change. The one insight on that I feel truly helps me to sort of cope with uncertainty, and that life is truly uncertain, and this will not be helpful for everyone, again, because these are my truths, that life will be super boring if it would be all the time certain. I, in a way, want to look back when I'm old at my life and feel that it was a crazy roller coaster and an amazing adventure in many ways, with, of course, beautiful memories in there, but also actually some hardship and suffering. And hardship and suffering comes many times from uncertainty that life threw at you. There is a lot of growth, if you want to grasp to it, in uncertainty. So it's together with that life would be boring, and knowing that there is a lot of growth in uncertainty, that I somewhere, even though that I didn't want to have this cardiac arrest or any other of those events that did cause a lot of suffering in my life, there was a lot of growth in them. I welcomed the unwelcome visitor the pain and the suffering and the various other emotions that those events caused. And I try to look at what this uncertainty can bring me and what I can learn from that. Meaning, community, and love can drive you through any darkness. Now, I always thought before that it was only meaning that can help you get through any darkness. What I personally realized is that there was actually two components missing to that to truly help you go through any kind of darkness. These are three pillars: meaning, community, and love. You know, meaning, to just kind of go through them, is that you feel what reason is there for you to stand up each day and to go on throughout the day. Now, the difference between love and community, because they don't per se mean the same thing. Your family, who can try to understand you, support you, be there to help you, those are components of love, right? Community is a different thing. This is about your tribe, the people who truly understand like core aspects of who you are and your values. They all three go hand in hand, right? Meaning can lead to love and community can lead to love and meaning, and love can lead to, you know, meaning and community. So they all go hand in hand, but those are really what I consider three pillars that can help you to go through any kind of darkness. Now, it's also already helpful to have one or two of those pillars, but if you still feel that you are struggling to get through that darkness that you might be going through, then there is maybe one or two more pillars that you're missing. Now, to give you sort of two examples, and the first one is actually the IPS project, which was created because of losing my dad when I was young, living with suicidal and depressive thoughts for years, and just being blown away that we learn nothing about our mental health and about the mind and the brain and body, and about relationships. So I started that project because of a lot of suffering that I first had to go through. Finding meaning because of that project helped me actually to move through that darkness and to learn a lot about all those wounds that happened or were caused in my past. About 2 years ago, I founded the Heart Warrior Project, which I created because of my cardiac arrest, and just feeling a lack of emotional support for fellow survivors or for survivors in general. So I started that project to talk with fellow survivors and to provide support to other survivors out there listening to it, and where I also chat occasionally with cardiac health experts. That project really was instantly where the three pillars were. Whatever darkness you might be going through right now, or at some point in your life, find one of those three pillars, or ideally, find all three of them. You don't have to start a project like I do, right? You can become a part of something that already exists that can give you all those three pillars as well. And the internet is a great tool to find those, right? The journey through that darkness will become so much more bearable. I'm not saying it will not be still painful, but it will become a lot more bearable. This too shall pass. That's a quote that I had tattooed on my arm by my sister, which is also pretty cool. It has always been a quote that has just helped me through so many times that I felt like, yeah, I want to have this tattooed on my arm. When there's a sunset or something happening and I see that quote on my arm, or I get reminded of it again, I just take a moment longer to stand there, because this too will pass, that beautiful moment. Or when I am around friends and I see my quotes on my arm. And then also for the less pleasant moments, like when I was lying in the hospital, it helped me so much. Like these last 5 years, I was a couple of times in the hospital for surgeries, and just seeing that quote that this too shall pass, this unpleasant moment here, it too will pass. And here I am, sitting, not lying in the hospital, which is good, right? Reminders are key in life. We really need reminders as humans. Whatever you're going through right now, this too shall pass. Whether, again, we're talking about some amazing high that you're on right now, or some beautiful moment that you're going through right now, or a much less moment, this too shall pass. Alright, and then the next one is learn how to die. You know, we're all going to die. It's just a matter of time when that will happen. Many people are quite uncomfortable talking about this topic. In my life, that has been quite a big topic, from losing my dad to being diagnosed with a heart disease to having suicidal thoughts to having a cardiac arrest and actually dying. I had a lot of experiences around death. It has actually been a major component in my life. Doing something about the fact that you're dying shouldn't be done the last few years of your life, but it should be something, a knowledge that you should use the moment that you're born, in a way, when you're capable of it, right? But very few people really understand that they are dying right now and that they are living with a terminal illness. If people would truly know that that is true, so many people would be living life so much differently. Learning how to die is one of the best ways to learn how to live. Now, how do you do that, right? First, well, going through such an experience where you do truly see that life is ending. Of course, I do not wish this upon anyone. So that's a bit of a not really practical thing. Now, what I will say, because this is something that I've been doing a lot these last few years, is that I've been reading a lot of books from people who have a terminal illness and who died. Not many people have a life-threatening disease. It does feel a bit lonely in a way, right? To have something that almost no one around you understands or has to deal with. And I did find a lot of understanding out of those books, and it really made me feel less alone. But what I also got out of it is that it also made me focus even more on, seeing death as a teacher to live life better. Seeing the words of someone going through that process of death is emotional. If you do actually really want to take this more serious and really feel that fact that life is ending, because there's a real hidden power behind it if you do realize it, which is again that you will live life much more strongly according to how you want to live it. Check out those books, read some of those books. When Bread Becomes Air, Tuesdays with Maury, The Last Lecture. Really good books. Often we think about a bucket list when you are terminal ill, but which again, even if you had a diagnosis or not, you are also terminally ill. You are also dying right now. So we all should have also, in a way, a bucket list. A list of things that you really want to do in life. And this doesn't have to be grandiose things, right? This could be small things. I started really drafting out my bucket list in this last few years and adding now and then another thing to it that I really feel like, wow, I would love to do this still at some point in my life. Every year I take one or two things out of that bucket list to do in that year. And this could be things like this year in 2023, I always wanted to take singing lessons. That has always been a thing that I wanted to do, and I put it on my bucket list. And in 2023, I actually booked a couple of singing lessons, and I actually did that, and it felt so amazing. I'm not a good singer. I likely will never be the best singer in the world, but just having done that and having had that experience in life, you will not take the true time to create that if, again, you did not experience the fact that death is a real thing that is happening to you, to me, to everyone. If you don't invest into your wellness, you will have to invest into your illness. And that is something that I didn't came up with. It's actually by Dr. Martin Inderpitsen, a pancreatic cancer survivor and a neuroscientist who I have interviewed a couple of times on the IPS podcast. I will also link in the description some of the interviews that we did. He's all around an incredible person. When I see people, smoking or drinking excessively, destroying, their health, I have to facepalm. People have no idea what kind of hell they are creating. They really have no idea what kind of hell they're creating. You don't want a chronic disease. You don't want a disease. As someone who has a chronic heart disease, and who did, I mean, nothing to end up with this. I had it when I was 6 years old, or that's when I was diagnosed with it, and who tries to really do his best to optimize his health. When I see people who are in perfect health destroying their own health, that's just, honestly, it feels deeply ungrateful to me. And, if you're watching and you do smoke and you do drink alcohol, uh, people can do what they want, right? I'm not telling you or anyone what they should do. I'm just sharing my experience and how it makes me feel as someone who has a chronic heart disease. It really is something that you don't want, like the amount of worries that you will have to deal with, the amount of surgeries, the medication, the amount of money that you have to throw at all those things, the kind of life restrictions that my heart disease has caused me. I mean, honestly, feeling normal and being just normal in normal health is so deeply underestimated. I mean, like, yeah, it's so underestimated how good it feels to feel normal. When I was experiencing that dizziness and that nausea for straight 2 years long, and I still experience it to this day, it's better because it's being treated, but it's still there. Just having glimpses these last few weeks, actually, or the last month or two, I had these glimpses of just being able to go to the climbing gym and then go for a drink with a friend. I was not able to do that in these last 2 years because of this constant dizziness and nausea. There are four things that you want to avoid at all costs, and these are called the slow deaths. And these are the four horsemen. These include heart disease, cancer, neurodegenerative disease, such as Alzheimer, and metabolic disease like type 2 diabetes. These are the four horsemen. You want to do everything to avoid those in your life. They are slow deaths. They are suffering and hell that you're creating. In general, the way to avoid those four horsemen are just by doing very basic things. Drinking water, plenty of water, eating clean food, really, focusing on actually getting good sleep and taking that serious. And then, of course, exercising, doing something, a sport. And I made a video actually here on my YouTube channel as well called The Smart Way to Work Out. Also, I will put it in the description. And the trick is actually to find a sport that is just really fun, that at first comes as something fun, and at second is exercise. And for me, that's climbing. Like, I don't do it because of the exercise, I do it because I find it fun, but I do have the exercise in there as well. And then, of course, stress is a big one too, because along with all those things, mental health really is important as well to incorporate, because often we might forget this actually, but those contribute dramatically as well to the four horsemen. If you again don't invest in your wellness and you will continue going on like this, you will at some point pay a price to it, and that price tag is a lot more expensive than actually if you would invest right now in your wellness. Every step counts. Now, this can be actually quite tough to realize or to feel when you are working on some big goal or some project. This lesson I've learned over the years from climbing mountains. I mean, I've climbed a lot of highest mountains around the world, and often when I was, on them, I felt like, wow, will I ever reach the top? Because it just feels like an eternity sometimes, and it's just really tiny steps that you take on this grand mountain that you're climbing. But when I was going through on the mountain a tough time, I just kept repeating in my head that every tiny step, as small as the step might be, does get me higher to the top. And eventually I did make it each time to the top of the mountain. And something that I also had, accomplished in these last 5 years was actually climbing a mountain that I worked towards for 3 years. I prepared 3 years for the Matterhorn, a very famous mountain in Switzerland, very iconic. When I first started, 3 years ago, I climbed the Mont Blanc, and the end goal I had in my head was, okay, I want to climb the Matterhorn at some point. And it felt just completely impossible. Completely impossible. I have to say, I am a little bit nervous, a little bit scared, despite the training that I've done and mental preparations that I've done. Could go a lot of things wrong. I don't know how this all will go. But through time and small steps on each mountain and reaching the ends, the top of each mountain, that goal and dream became possible. I think 3 or so years ago, I actually reached the top of the Matterhorn and I climbed it. And it was the same concepts that every step counts, towards the goal of being able to climb it, and on the mountain itself, of course, to reach the top. And this concept of every step counts, I'm also applying now in my studies in clinical psychology. Is every day that I sit down and open my book and study for exams, which can feel like so tiny drops, in the ocean, but they do count. Every subject or every exam that I pass, it does count to ultimately becoming a clinical psychologist. Now, one of the best ways for me to actually see that every step counts is to do a year review. This has been one of the best ways for me to physically see that actually every step did count. When I go through the questions that I have, of things that I've accomplished that year, and I see once again, like, oh wow, I did pass through all those exams, or I did, accomplish this with the IPS project or with the Heart Warrior project. I do feel once again that every step did count. So each year, just reflecting back on all the things that you've done that year can take that in again, that it is true that every step counts, and that there has been in your life, when you reflect back on the past year, actually some results from those steps that you took. Life is about letting go. Now, it's not about giving up, though, but it is about letting go. Once you enter life, you also enter the, eternal stream of change. Life is constantly changing, and your life as well, right? Friends that you don't spend time anymore or that move away, relationships that end, my dog, that's getting old, and that I know that it's, probably in a couple of years I will have to say goodbye to, or things that you wished would have happened but didn't happen. It's quite hard to let go of certain things in life at times, right? And what I feel that has really helped me to realize that when you let go of something, there is room for something new to grow or to be there. And a very simple example is a good friend of mine who moved away from Antwerp abroad, and that I did often spend time with. And I did feel actually that was quite hard for me. But that did allow me to have more time to spend time with other friends, which I did. There is a sad part to letting go, for sure, right? And a difficult part to it. But there can be also quite a beautiful part to it, if you can see that there is room now, new room for something else to grow or happen. Build and maintain relationships. They are super important, really. I used to travel, I think, I did it for like 6 years, that I traveled around and worked like a digital nomad around the world. Went to live in Bali for some time, in Barcelona. Had great times there, met amazing people there, really amazing people. But the thing is that each time, the people that I met left after a couple of months. In the beginning, it was really fun and really exhilarating and cool to constantly meet new people. But at some point through those years, it started to feel very tiring and very empty. Because I always felt when I was back in Belgium that I didn't know some people. I did know some people, but very little. What I did once I really felt and realized that, and actually, interestingly enough, 5 years ago when I made this first video when I was 25 of lessons learned in my life. That's actually when I decided to stay 1 year in Antwerp, in Belgium, and to commit to one place for 1 year and to try everything that I could to find people that have similar interests like me and to create some kind of stable friendships, people who would remain there. And I can tell you, I that was such a good investment of time and of money. And having had that 1 year experience, I instantly realized how important it is. I really felt the importance then of having stable friendships that you can, people that you can regularly see. Having friends is a big factor to happiness, to longevity, and to just well-being. And I mean, loneliness does truly kill people. Ever since that realization and that year, I actually stayed in Belgium. A couple of things that I do now to maintain good friends is, for example, every month I go with a group of guys to a sauna, a public sauna, and we do that every month. Doing something on a fixed time. Every month you could go for a hike with a couple of friends, for example. And this is not complicated, right? You just have to gather some people, or it can be even one person or two, put a date and time, and do that every month. So you know every month a moment where you will spend time with friends and some quality time. And other ways that you could do to take every year some workshop or course, but to do it with a friend. And I actually did this with a good friend, or I used to do this, that we went on a wine course, for example, or that we went on a climbing course, and we did every year something together. That too is such an easy and good way to maintain and do something with a friend. Look for something that you're both interested in and book it together. Another thing that I also did in the last 5 years was to actually have a shared project with, in this case, my cousin. So we created a climbing wall, and that was honestly one of the best summers in my life. Invest in your friendships and maintain them. It is, once again, so important. Passion and meaning over money. So a lot of friends and a lot of people that I've met in the co-working place where I sometimes work from, they started something up purely based on where is the money. And I'm not saying that that is bad, right? Probably most companies started with that vision. Okay, where is the most money gained? When I hear people talk about their company and they've been doing it for years, many of them, I don't know, are being burned out by it or hate it or are just bored in a way by it and want to change at some point. You know, when they can stop, most of them want to immediately stop. You know, go on retirement when they have enough money earned. And to me, I am excited every day. I mean, honestly, to stand up and to continue working on the two platforms, the two projects that I created. As someone who has been reminded a lot of times that that is a real thing, I honestly don't have time, or I don't want to spend time on just purely chasing money, because that in its own is so hollow and empty. At the end of your life, when you did actually truly fight for something that you stand behind and that you care about and that you find meaningful, that feels so much more significant and meaningful and impactful than only having chased the money. It's all just a story. I have a friend, and her beliefs in life and the ones that I have are very different, actually, which is okay, right? I mean, everyone can in the end believe what they want. But I once was in Bali and I fell from my scooter, hurted my ankle quite badly, couldn't walk really good for a couple of weeks. That day, or that moment when that happened, also my laptop broke down. I had a fight with someone that I was dating. There was all these things happening at the same time, right? And she told me, like, this is a sign of the universe telling you to slow down. That could entirely be true, and for her that was the truth. But for me, it didn't felt right at all. It could mean anything. It could be the universe also, challenging me to see how much I wanted to fight for that person that I was dating, or wanted to fight for the work that I was doing. It could mean so many things. And it's just a story that you decide in the end that feels the most right to you. I once went to climb the highest mountain of Slovenia, Triglav. When I was leaving Belgium to take my flights, I was on the train, and the brakes of the train broke down, which just doesn't happen often, right? Luckily. And it was delayed like dramatically, then they couldn't fix it, and then I had to get another train, but there was no train going to the airport that would get me there on time to get my flight. Some people might have said maybe to me like, oh, it's a sign of the universe telling you that you shouldn't go. I went back home to Antwerp. I booked a new flight and I got on the plane the next day. And everything went fine, and I had one of the most incredible trips ever. Truly. That trip to Slovenia and climbing Triglav, it was so incredibly fun. I had an amazing time there. We as humans tend to try to make sense out of things, and we attach certain beliefs, which are stories, to it that allow us to make sense out of those things. But what I would say is just that know that it is a story, it's not a fact. There are so many religions and so many beliefs out there. If we knew what the right thing was, there would be only one. But no, there are over 3,000. There are many to choose from. Based on where you're born and the story that your environment tells you, you also build, your beliefs on that. But if you would be born in another country, that story would have been totally different. The main thing that I feel that is really important is that whatever you choose, there is no right or wrong thing, but choose something that feels empowering to you. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. Now, this is something primarily from investing that, that comes from there. Like, if you invest, don't invest in all your money in one stock, but invest it in multiple, right? Don't invest in one ETF, but invest in multiple. Because if one goes down, the chances that another one might be slightly up is more likely. So it can be more balanced. If, again, you invest in only one, all your money in only one, and it goes so much down, then all your money is gone. Now, this is not alone true for investments. This is true across the board in life. Now, I'm not saying be fearful that everything will always go wrong. No, of course not. But at least be smart and think about the fact that, yes, relationships can end. Yes, friendships can end. Spread out those eggs in more baskets. Have more than one friend. Don't do everything alone with your partner. Because if the basket then falls, all your eggs are broken and you're left with nothing, and you gotta start up from anew again. Also, this applies to, again, so many other areas in life and in your lifestyle. Have more options that you could see yourself being happy in life. And this is really from the dizziness and nausea that I felt for just straight 2 years and even still now. But it also made me realize it's good to actually have alternative ideas, other options that you could see yourself being happy in. I could see myself, if I would have continued being dizzy and nausea for the rest of my life, to go to a monastery where I've been to before, and to live among the monks and write out this book that I've been working on for a long time. That could have been an option B that I could really have seen myself, in a way, still be happy in. Now, Corona also showed actually that to be true, to put your eggs in multiple baskets. Many businesses failed because of Corona, because they only had their eggs in one basket, and the businesses that were able to adapt and immediately put out more baskets and try to put some eggs out of that one basket in the other ones, they succeeded, right? Put your eggs in multiple baskets, not in one, because you never know what can happen in your career, in your personal life, or globally. things change all the time. The one certainty that you have in life is that life is uncertain. Someone's dream life will be someone else's nightmare. What someone's ideal rich life would look like is it will be just so different to someone else. Often we have this idea, that money is the only way to live a rich life. But actually money doesn't have to do something with it at all. It can be, right? It can be if that's for you, but it could be totally different for other people. I personally feel for myself that I have over the years truly crafted a rich life. I wake up every day doing what I love. I, have a home base here to fall back to where I pay very low rent. I have a van where I can part-time live in and have complete freedom to go wherever I want. I have great friends that I truly have selected, in a way that I know positively have a change and impact on my life and that I have on them as well, right? I have spent a lot of time crafting out a rich life for myself, and it actually had little to do with money. So not too long ago, just a couple of months ago, I had a very fancy apartment in a very rich neighborhood. Of course, I had to pay very high rent for that. And while I did really enjoy living there for a few years, honestly, now being out of it and living in my van again, and sometimes here in my sort of home base, my station where I can sometimes come to, I feel such a dramatic difference of happiness. To live a rich life has to do with what you truly value in life and actually having that. The thing that's often holding people back to live a rich life, one is of course the opinions of other people. And then the other thing is actually, and this is something that quite some people are not so much aware of sometimes, is that what are you spending money on that is actually not contributing to you to feel like you're living a rich life. And for me, for example, that was paying a very high rent. That was really doing nothing to me to feel like I was living a rich life. Well, it might be for other people. So what can you do, right? Can you actually lower the cost by moving to another apartment, or by having roommates or something, or by living in a van? Almost everyone can make some adjustments in their life where they're spending money on that it's not really making them feel like living a rich life, and doing something about that, adjusting and changing something on that, and then having that money freed up to spend it in something that does feel like a rich life to you. Your time is finite, so you only have so much time to do work on that and to do something about that. And I wish sometimes that I could give people that feeling. Time is running out. Alright, and those were some of the lessons and insights that I had over these last 5 years. If you're interested, do check out the first video that I made 5 years ago when I was 25. I will put it in the description down below. Any other things that I shared in this video, do check out the description, as I will link them up there. Yeah, let me know what maybe insight or lesson that you liked out of this video, or any thoughts that you have of any of them that I shared down below in the comments. I am actually very curious to hear your thoughts as well. Thank you for watching, and maybe I'll see you on another video. Bye.